good? Good to go? Obviously, really excited about our first day out. Even having fans at the walkthrough, you just kind of feel it. So I'm very excited for this afternoon, our last day of kind of that ramp-up period. We'll be back to obviously full speed today on everything we do. Kind of putting that stamp on what's really been the first part of training camp. This first 4-day ramp-up period, getting ready for pads, which will be really exciting on Monday to really kind of see where we're at from a physicality standpoint. Obviously, looking back on yesterday, really cool deal, obviously. For one, to get to take the team to US Bank Stadium. Obviously, you guys have heard me talk about it a lot, about being on the other sideline, but just to envision what that's going to be like on September 11th and know that the type of support we're going to have there in such a great venue. You barely slept last night knowing what's to come in that building for our team this year. And then obviously Jared Allen, to be a part of that as a first-time head coach, to be able to kind of be a part of planning, trying to make that as special as we could for him, while also still having him deliver a great message to our team that was really special in that setting. But to get to be a part of surprising him and form a relationship with him. I've talked to you guys about Vikings legends, and he is definitely one of them with what he was able to do during his 6 years here. That's really important to me, and we've talked a lot about getting as many as our Vikings legends here as much as possible around our team, and that's really something I'm very looking forward to more in the future. I know our team really enjoyed it, and we're really hoping that in the not too distant future we're talking about Jared Allen making his way to Canton, Ohio. So that'll be really cool, and with that I'll open it up, guys.
What advantage do you have having the legends here? You said there's some positive. What is the positive they bring?
Yeah, I think no matter who you are, going back, I can remember when I was little and playing in front of, the older guys, freshman football, and the older guys are there. Maximize that by about 1,000, and that's what you get, when Jared Allen's watching you practice, or Alan Page, or anybody. It's one of those things that, I just think that for one. But then for me, just knowing the history, and the more and more I learn about the history of our organization, from Coach Grant and all the great players he coached all the way on through to where I'm standing right now, this organization's had some really great players, great coaches, and I just think it'd be foolish not to not only embrace that, but try to really push for more of that when we can.
Irv's skill set, different ways that you could use him, blocking, receiving, I guess. Have you had any tight ends in your career like that many different options, I guess?
Yeah, he's got some real unique traits. I mean, going back a few years to a guy like Jordan Reed in Washington, who obviously Kirk played with, Irv's probably a little bit different in a sense with the vertical speed. Jordan could obviously run, but I think when Irv really opens it up, there's a lot in the tank there. And then I think he has some of that in his body, the true, we call it doubling up, that choice route kind of skill set to be able to make decisions with your eyes up in the sequence and timing of a snap to maximize separation. And then you talked about it, the Tyler Higbees of the world are 3-down Ys, and they can have an impact in the run game. What we're hunting from a standpoint of the marriage of the run and the pass, you'd like to have that guy in there as much as possible, and then obviously have complementary pieces around him at the position, or a fullback like C.J. Ham to really kind of put all those puzzle pieces together. But I'm excited about Irv, and I think it all starts with what we talked about day one, his ability to come back here 100% ready to go. He's been locked in mentally. Coach Angelico and Coach Cordell are doing a great job with that group. Luckily, we were able to get almost that whole group in early, so they got a jump start on things, but really excited about Irv.
What have you learned about Dalvin Cook since you've started seeing him up close when you got here and into the summer?
Yeah, first and foremost, within the walls and of our building and on the field, he's one of our best example setters of how to be a football player, how to lead from the front. You guys will see it today. There'll be a play where maybe the ball goes to the complete opposite side of the field, and you'll see number 4 sprinting across the field to finish without his coach having to say anything. Whether he touches the football or not, it does not matter, and he does it snap in and snap out. When you're standing up in front of the unit installing, you engage with people that are making eye contact with you, and those who don't normally get their names called out. But ultimately, Dalvin Cook is always so dialed into what we're coaching, what Coach Mod's coaching, with the details of that position. So literally, it's been one of the real joys early on. Most of our, if not all of our roster, just this connection and relationship. It's real because it matters to me. I know sometimes it can sound a little cliche, but Dalvin Cook is one of those players that I think of if you ask me to describe that. That's 100% what I'm looking for, and he's been phenomenal.
We didn't see Jesse Davis practice yesterday,
Yep.
if I recall correctly. So what's the situation with him, and then also what are you looking for competitors at the right guard spot?
Yeah, good question. Jesse, we've got a plan for him, and that goes through Tyler and Uriah and Josh Hankstuff. We've got a plan for him as far as how do we give him the work we need while not taxing his body to the point where we could possibly, have something flare up and in a knee that he's had an injury before. And Jesse's one of them. You guys will notice a few throughout the camp where it's all been, believe it or not, kind of really well thought out to kind of really make sure we're getting guys reps and that true competition and evaluation phase. It's only fair if we evaluate them in the hope of how they will feel and be on Sundays. And so that's the hope for Jesse. He'll be back out there today. So there'll be times here and there, hopefully as I've planned it on a lot of those jog through kind of lower volume type of days, so that when we do ramp it up like we will today or into Monday and Wednesday of next week with high volume days, those guys will all be out there. And then as far as the right guard position, everything is still very, very fluid with a lot of guys competing in the interior of our offensive line right there. And they've all, put themselves in a position, and rightly so, to get reps, to truly be evaluated. And what do guys do well? What's the best five look like that we can put together? And then how those critical depth pieces, your swing tackle, your backup center, your interior, backups, what can they do from a versatility standpoint to help you feel good going into every game, that no matter what happens, you'll be in good shape?
Yes, he had like a sleeve on his right knee. Is it just something that flares up? Is that what it is? Or?
I'm not a doctor to know the need. I know half the sleeves you see on arms and legs around here are probably for swag purposes. But Jesse's, unfortunately, he's got plenty of swag. He does not need that for those purposes. It's for whatever it is those things do to help a guy feel at his best when he's working, and then ultimately limit any kind of inflammation after. But like I said, please don't quote me on my medical prowess.
Hey, Kevin, obviously you guys are completely different personalities, but as you go through practice, having played for Belichick, is there anything you try to emulate or avoid that Belichick did during a practice?
The thing that always comes back to me is the situational work, even working it in drills where, guys just think it's a normal down period. How are we handling first, second, and then, hey, it's third down. Well, where are we at on the field? Are we in field goal range? What's the time on the clock? Would we be in a no-sack mentality type of mindset at the quarterback position? Are we going to bring extra pressure because the situation, warrants that, and then ultimately calling plays on offense to help our guys prepare for when defenses do that? And that would be the one thing, is just never missing an opportunity to either be teaching, coaching, or evaluating where you're at from a standpoint of situational football.
Starters going to play in the games, or are you probably going to do, I think, what the Rams did with Sean, which was, I don't think Stafford played last year.
Yep.
So have you deducted that plan yet for the 3 preseason games?
Yeah, first and foremost, everybody will be kind of on an individual program, but with the intent of, week in and week out of the preseason, we get the opportunity to practice 2 real good games days against the Niners. Obviously, we'll finish with Denver and starting out with Las Vegas. So we'll get with the staff, and we really wanted to get through the ramp-up period and get the pads on and see where we're at, what type of matchups and combinations do we want to put together. Really in all 3 phases, there's a lot of jobs and a lot of spots on our roster that are very, very competitive for good reasons. We got some good football players that want to be a part of what we're doing. So I want to make sure we allow guys to do that, allow guys to feel comfortable in new systems, while also making sure, we got a mindset of having our best 53 guys available for the Green Bay Packers.
Fans come out, does that kind of add a little umph for the players and energize them a little bit? Maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah, I think so. I know it does for me, just knowing that they're going to be here. You never want to change anything about how you do things one way or the other versus fans being here or not, but just the overall energy. I thought when we were going full the first 2 days, you guys could probably feel it, just the juice and energy in between periods, drill to drill, and then when we get it going, if a play happens, you're hearing some really good things on that side of the ball, and a lot of coaching going on the other side of the ball. But I expect it to be no different today. It's an unbelievable setup here for both our families and a lot of guests, and then obviously all of our great fans that want to take the time to come out to a practice. I just remember times when I was younger, going with my dad to training camp practices and being, in the bleachers or right up on the ropes and seeing some of my idols 5-10 feet away working on their craft and the impact it had on me. So I just think it's a special time of year as we all kind of build up to what's to come.
Last question.
What don't you want teams to see? There's the sign out there that basically says be part of the team, and you got fans here who have cameras, etc. What's because there's a ton of stuff now, from Bills camp and Packers camp, blah blah blah. What's the goal of what you don't want fans and people to share?
Well, I think it ultimately comes down to whatever competitive advantage or disadvantage we may be able to put ourselves in from a situational standpoint of, you can go back and study a lot. We'll do the same thing throughout the year, as we build up inventory week in and week out of our opponents. But ultimately, there is a level of the unknown of truly what does this team look like. And, there's no secret, what my football philosophy is. There's no secret what Ed Donatell's defensive philosophy or Matt Daniels. You can look to guys' individual histories, but we've got a pretty unique group here. And I ultimately understand, some of when you open up a training camp to get that environment and that energy that you're ultimately looking for. I understand that there's going to be some fans that get excited and maybe not just fans and video some things and put them out there. But ultimately, the goal is for especially our fans to understand that they're a part of this and the excitement and joy of being a part of it. I'm not going to tell anybody sitting in those bleachers what they can and can't do, but understand that there's a reason behind it. It's not just coach speak. And ultimately, we'll continue to invite folks in as long as we possibly can until we've got to start closing things down and really getting ready for our first game.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Next.